Reppin' Philly ain't a choice, it's a way of life. PhillyGoat.com is your one-stop shop for Philly pride. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Look fresh, stay Philly, Philly Goat. Go Birds. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for September 25th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast back in the home office. I apologize for the ASMAR episodes the past 2 days, but when you're staying in a house with a lot of people, the worst thing to do is wake them up early just because you're a psycho. But we're back. We're good. Hopefully the sound is where it belongs. We're not going to have any deer coming along. Or we did have a bear get into the trash when we were sitting out by the fire the other night. First time I ever experienced that, which was pretty cool, I guess. I don't know. But we are back, and the Phillies are back. The Red October Express is heading directly to Citizens Bank Park next Saturday. I don't think the time or anything has been announced, but I'm sure the Phillies will be one of the prime time slots. But the bye was clinched, and they did it on the field, 11-1. Great outing by Jesus Luzardo, 10 strikeouts in 7 innings, but the offense exploded. Kyle Schwarber hit 55 and 56, has an outside shot now, or I shouldn't even say outside, pretty legitimate shot to get to Ryan Howard's 58. And shout out to my boy John Foley, who put this out on his Twitter yesterday. Ryan Howard hit number 55 and 56 on the same day against the Marlins, but only it was in Florida for that one. But Schwarber definitely has a shot at Ryan Howard's team record. I mean, he's can always hit 2 in a game, so there's also, I guess, the outside shot. He can get to 60, but Topper said he was going to let him go for the record. As well, he should. Keep him sharp. You don't want to start benching these guys, especially with a big layoff coming up. Or not a big layoff, but I guess basically a bye week where there's no games. Edmundo Sosa came off the IL, hit 3 home runs himself as the Phillies set a team record for home runs with 8 in a game. We've talked a lot about that team record of 7. They've tied it multiple times, but now this team has the standalone team record with 8 home runs. But everyone looked good. Bye is clinched. They're back at it tonight. 4 games left in the season. Phillies looking to take this series. They're still 2.5 behind Milwaukee for the top seed. I think that could essentially be wrapped up tonight. But you never know. It'd be nice to have all games or all home field advantage throughout, but at least with baseball, there will be in the NLCS. There will be, if the Phillies get there will be some home games at Citizens Bank Park. But the Red October Express making the first stop now next Saturday, October 4th. Time still to be determined, but hop on board the Red October Express. One thing, though, I didn't really get into this yesterday, but the bullpen has not been as sharp as they were. And is this something that we should be concerned about? I did hear Larry Anderson on the afternoon show on WIP. He said that Johan, it shouldn't be anything to be worried about. He missed the pitch. And when you're throwing 102 miles an hour, guy gets a bat on it, it's going to fly. But he said essentially just missed the pitch, doesn't raise calls for concern. He just needs to either keep it down in the zone or for the fastball, the high heat. What about the rest of the guys? Always has been a question this year, and I think heading into the postseason, here we are. Bullpen is likely the biggest question mark of this team, but should we be concerned? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. Hit me up on social media as well. But should we be concerned with the bullpen at this point? They are going to get some days rest here, so that should bode well as well. All right, yesterday's trivia question. I asked you the last Phillies pitcher to hit a home run in a game. I incorrectly said 2019. It was actually 2021 it happened, and that would be Kyle Gibson, who was like the fifth, sixth starter on that team. Everybody that guessed every other pitcher on that team but Kyle Gibson. All right, some Eagles news as they gear up for the Buccaneers this weekend. Injuries, Nolan Smith and Jacorian Bennett both placed on the IR, meaning they'll miss a minimum of 4 games. Darius Cooper also on the IR, but that takes you right up to about the bye week, so like week 9. Nobody really has any info right now on either injury, but I know Jacorian Bennett was banged up after the game last week, and then Nolan Smith, there was reports, a couple of the reporters said had been walking around with a brace on his arm, so not sure if it's that tricep tear acting up on him or not. But that's a huge loss for this team, and recording the Brotherly Birds breakdown tonight with my brother, so I'm sure we will get into that and what it means for the Eagles. But Nolan Smith, Jacorian Bennett on the IR. That led to some moves. Quez Watkins is back on the practice squad. Eli Ricks is back on the practice squad. But is Howie cooking? Does Howie have something up his sleeve? Because it definitely puts a hole there on the defensive line. Do guys like Jalix Hunt step up? Jadarius Smith? Or is the answer somewhere on the other, not on the roster yet? So Howie's probably cooking, should be cooking right now. So we'll see what happens. But Nolan Smith, really, that is a huge deal. But, and I'll get more into it on the Brotherly Birds breakdown, the schedule kind of bodes okay for that. You're not going against world beater offenses. We said once we get through these first 4 weeks, and kind of the schedule is still hard, but it levels off somewhat. So maybe they'll be okay. And even this week, the Buccaneers are pretty banged up. So we might be, the timing of this, I mean, it's never good to have an injury, and this team has been relatively healthy over the past few years, but it might not be the worst timing if you're going to have an injury during the season. But we'll get more on that on the Brotherly Birds breakdown, which will be dropping later tonight. And then, obviously, any updates we'll have for you on this day in Philly sports history tomorrow. And here we go. Media day for the Sixers is Friday. They dropped the jerseys, the throwback black jerseys to honor that 2000-2001 team are going to look like. And they're phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Looking forward to seeing them wear them. Not necessarily a basketball jersey kind of guy. I mean, if you look at me, don't really have the body type for a basketball jersey, but definitely will be getting a hoodie or something with the back in black or whatever they're calling it. But those things look sharp. And Joe, like I said, I don't want to do it yet. I don't want to do it because media's days tomorrow. I'm going to hold and contain my excitement and sleep on this because I want to see what happens at media day, because I don't want to jump on and get all hyped now and then have them say Joe's out 6 to 8 weeks to start the season. So I'm going to contain it. Now, I'm not kicking that football, Lucy, at least until this weekend. So put it away. Go away. All right, some quick housekeeping notes. Be sure to follow me on social media at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you're in the loop whenever a new episode of This Day in Philly Sports History or the Brotherly Birds breakdown drops. That is at Jimbo_Mont. Like, review, subscribe, comment, all that other good stuff that helps outsmart the algorithm. And then spread the word. If you are a new listener, welcome. We're glad to have you. But that's, at this point, still the best way to show your appreciation. Tell somebody about it. Play it. Listen for them, with them, whatever. But just spread it and let people know. Been mentioning these raffle tickets. If you're interested in winning a chance for two home tickets to every game in Philly sports over the next year, hit me up. $20. Proceeds go toward the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. There's also a chance to get a large screen TV. I think it's like a 70-some inch TV, a Philly spring training trip, which is always a good time. So hit me up, $20 for a raffle ticket, and you get a chance to win tickets to all home games over the next year, a TV, trips to Florida, and it's all proceeds go toward helping raise money for the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. This day in Philly sports history is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, a growing community of diehard fans turning their sports passion into something special. Whether you're looking for unique shows, want to launch your own podcast but don't have the time, or need production services, the ClashingConferences.com has everything you need. Explore fan-driven content, become a member, or tap into their media services to level up your brand. That's ClashingConferences.com, where fans' voices get heard. All right, September 25th. Got a little bit of a mixed bag of Phillies and Eagles here. First, we're going to go back to 1987. And on this day in 1987, Phillies beat the Expos 4-2 at the Vet. Mike Schmidt hit a homer and 2 RBI. Don Carmen, 7 2/3, 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts. But Steve Bedrosian came in to save it for Don Carmen, picking up his 40th save of the season, becoming the first Philly with 40 saves in one season, en route to winning the Cy Young Award that year. So Steve Bedrosian gets his 40th save on this day in 1987. A few weeks later, he would win the NL Cy Young, one of the more unlikeliest Cy Young Award winners ever. I think it was the closest Cy Young vote ever. Not really that many dominant pitchers that year, so for a closer to actually win it, it was a big deal. So he got save number 40 on this day in 1987. And then 1988, 1 year later, the Eagles lost to the Vikings 23-21 in a defensive battle. Randall Cunningham threw for 2 touchdowns but was sacked 8 times. The defense did force 3 turnovers and sacked Tommy Kramer 5 times, but the offense struggled with that Vikings pass rush, gaining only 205 total yards, falling to 1-3 on the season. However, they were about to turn a switch. They went 9-3 down the stretch to win the NFC East and setting up a divisional playoff matchup with the Bears out at Soldier Field. We don't need to get into what happened during that playoff game, but you know, and if you're a longtime listener, you know how I feel about that game. But on this day, Eagles lose to the Vikings in a game in which they struggled. However, they would flip a switch, turn it around, win 9 of their next 12, and clinch the NFC East on the final day of the season. 2 years later, in 1990, Phillies lose to the Cardinals 1-0, despite pounding out 10 hits and getting a gem of a game by Terry Mulholland. He gave up a triple on the first pitch to Bernard Gilkey, followed by a sacrifice fly, and then did not allow another hit until there were 2 outs in the 9th when Bernard Gilkey doubled. So Terry Mulholland pitches a 2-hitter, both hits, extra base hits by Bernard Gilkey, but the offense could not help him out as they pounded out 10 hits, couldn't get a run in, and wasted a gem by Terry Mulholland. Excuse me. And then fast forward all the way to 2015, Phillies beat the Nationals 8-2. Jared Eichhoff went 7 innings, gave up 2 earned runs, struck out 10, and only walked 1. But Aaron Altair was the hero of the game. He went 4 for 5 with 2 homers, a double, and 5 RBI, which included an inside the park grand slam. You don't see them too often, but Aaron Altair was the hero. Darren Ruff and Cody Ashley also homered, and I kind of remember this game vaguely. I remember this time period because we were like, all right, between Altair, Ashley, and Ruff, maybe the Phillies' future is bright. It was, just not with those guys. That does lead to today's trivia question. In 1988, the Eagles had 3 running backs, despite having a terrible offensive line, go over 500 yards. So who were they? Which players, I should say, that gives you a major hint right there. But which players on the 1988 Eagles ran for 500 or more yards? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line, any of my social media, the Discord channel, which is the first link in the description. But come on over, say hello, and have some fun. All right, today's underrated, underappreciated athlete is Randy Wolf. Randy was originally drafted by the Dodgers, didn't sign with them, came back out the next year in the draft. Phillies took him in the 2nd round in 1997, made his debut in 1999, kind of ran through their farm system, pitched 8 years in Philly with a 194-190 record, 4.21 ERA, 11 complete games, 7 shutouts, struck out 971. His best season was probably 2003 when he was an all-star, went 16-10, 4.23 ERA, 2 complete games and 2 shutouts, struck out 177. But that was pretty much the high point of Randy Wolf's time in Philly. I think he was a solid innings eater type guy. Left after 2006 via free agency, but he was solid for the Phillies. And I think the issue was they did not have an ace. That the Phillies during Randy Wolf's time, I feel as though they had a bunch of maybe max level second starters, but a ton of 3-4 guys who they were expecting to be aces, and that just wasn't who they were. And I think Randy Wolf was one of them. He was probably a solid number 3, a great number 4. But, I mean, he would go on and played 8 more teams in the major leagues before calling it a career. But unfortunately, I think the expectations were a little higher than what Randy Wolf was. But not taking anything away from Randy Wolf, because he was a solid guy for what he was. I just think the expectations for him were a lot higher than what they should have been. But then who could forget the Wolfpack back when at the Vet in the early years of Citizens Bank Park? But this was mainly at the Vet when there was all the fan groups and everyone. But the Wolfpack certainly was one of the best. But Randy Wolf is today's underrated and underappreciated Philly athlete. And I think any player on the Phillies from that time frame, like the early 2000s to probably 2015-ish, 2016, 2017 even. I think they're all underrated and underappreciated just because as a collective, they never really had, minus the golden era, but they never really had the star. You had that great run with Rollins, Utley, and Howard kind of sandwiched in there, but I think they were more a victim of not having a superstar and just having these lofty expectations that just were impossible to live up to. But Randy Wolf is today's underrated and underappreciated athlete. And finally, it is Thursday. Time for a little Throwback Thursday. We mentioned the Wolfpack, but there were a lot of good fan groups at the Vet and Citizens Bank Park. Just wanted to talk about a few of them. Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Tell me your favorite fan group. But obviously the Wolfpack was one of the better ones. You had the Bird Cage for Paul Bird, and then the Bird's Nest for Marlon Bird. Padilla's Flotillas was one of my favorites. The Duck Pond, Tomy's Homies, Howard's Homers. Everybody wore it was a short-lived one because the team got good, but everybody wore the Homer Simpson mask. Sal's Pals, probably one of the classic ones. I think I may even have shaved my beard and mustache in the shape of a Fu Manchu in honor of Sal's Pals at one point. More recently, you had the Fandemic crew who would go and stand outside the gate at Citizens Bank Park and watch the games during COVID when they just could not. You weren't allowed in the games, which that was pretty cool, and that was dedication. But for them to go do that was cool. There were a lot of other ones that were short-lived that I don't even remember as I was going through and doing some of the research for it. Short-lived and not as popular. But let me know. Let's have some fun with this. Who's your favorite all-time fan group for the Phillies? There were so many. Like I said, because you needed something to entertain yourself. But they would just take over big, high spots at the Vet and wear masks, dress in costumes, and just have a good time. Like I said, my all-time favorite, though, Sal's Pals, in honor of Sal Fasano. Great Fu Manchu mustache. Very nice and, I don't know, just a strong-looking mustache. But that is Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Lotwin. Go to Lotwin.com, get your 3D custom hype chain. These things are great. Go Lotwin.com. The quality is great, but they bring you Throwback Thursday, where we talk a little bit about the Phillies fans group. Who is your favorite fan group? I'm going Sal's Pals, but who do you got? On this day in 2015, Aaron Altherr with an inside-the-park grand slam for the Phillies. 1990, they wasted a gem by Terry Mulholland, who pitched a complete game, gave up 2 hits, both to Menard Gilkey, and 1 run. Phillies pounded out 10 hits, but only couldn't manage any runs, losing 1-0. Eagles lose to the Vikings on this day in 1988, but get ready to go on a run that would lead to an NFC East title. And then 1987, Steve Bedrosian, first Philly to get 40 saves en route to the Cy Young. We'll have more on the Eagles injury update tomorrow. Of course, the finale of the Phillies Marlins. We got the bye. That's really the main thing we're looking for right now. We got the bye. If you can get the 1 seed, great. If not, I don't think it matters as long as you get the bye, especially with JT's hand being bruised, Trey's hamstring. You just want to ease into it, get everybody healthy, set your rotation, and be ready to go. But let me know if you think we should be concerned with the Phillies bullpen. I'm slightly concerned. I'm not overly jumping off the Ben Franklin bridge concerned, but it's in the back of my mind. I mean, the Red October Express were full steam ahead, but these guys are kind of milling around, so I'm a little concerned. But let me know your thoughts on the Phillies bullpen. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for September 25th, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.